Imagine a tranquil village tucked away in the American countryside, quiet roads, rolling fields under a pale sky, and old wooden houses where everyone knows their neighbors. This place is Spring Green, Wisconsin. It seems like the kind of town where nothing terrible ever happens. But beneath that calm, a dark secret was waiting. In 1999, a young woman from Tanzania named Mwivono Kapaza disappeared without warning. And what followed would become one of the most chilling investigations in local history. The story begins on a warm summer evening. Mwivono had been attending a small social gathering, friends and acquaintances chatting, laughter drifting in the air, and for a moment, it looked like any other night, but something went terribly wrong. She stepped away, disappeared into the darkness, and never came back. The next morning, people began to worry. Mwivono didn't return home. Her friends reported that she was missing, and her family, still back in Tanzania, feared the worst. Letters and phone calls went unanswered. In Spring Green, the police launched a search. They knocked on doors, interviewed anyone who might have seen her, and scoured the roads she might have taken. But for a long time, there was no sign, no trace, no clue. Days stretched into weeks, and still, the mystery remained. Then, almost 2 weeks later, a local farmer walking near a riverbank spotted something strange: debris, plastic bags, and unusual shapes caught in the bushes. He called the authorities. When investigators arrived, they discovered the unthinkable: human remains, concealed in duffel bags, tied and scattered near the edge of the water. The forensic team was summoned immediately. They carefully documented every detail. The remains had been tampered with. There were signs that plastic and travel bags, similar to what one might use to carry luggage, had been used to conceal and transport body parts. The body bore evidence of violence. But even as they worked, the forensic experts struggled. The remains had been disfigured, skin removed in places, the skull partially stripped, all signs that someone had tried to make identification difficult. Yet, amid the horror, there was one clue that investigators couldn't ignore: a familiar tattoo, partially preserved. That tattoo had been described by her family back in Tanzania. It matched exactly. That was the moment they realized this was Mwivono. Once identification was confirmed, the investigation began in earnest. The person they least expected would soon become the prime suspect. A man close to her, her cousin, Peter. As detectives dug into his background, they uncovered troubling facts. He lived not far from where the remains were found. Within his home, they discovered several items that connected him to the crime scene. Investigators found duffel bags, matching the type used in which the remains were discovered. They found traces of blood on the floorboards. They discovered personal belongings of Mwivono in his residence: a small purse, old photographs, even printed pages in Swahili, referencing her life in Tanzania. A specially trained scent dog, alerted to the presence of a scent, inside corners of his house, behind wall baseboards. And when forensic scientists analyzed the blood evidence, they matched it to her DNA. But that wasn't all. In Peter's planner, detectives found handwritten notes. Words in Swahili appeared: Siku Maalum ya Kazi, special day of work, and Fanya Kazi, do the work. These notes, prosecutors would later argue, indicated premeditation. But how could such a crime happen? In court, they revealed a horrifying theory from testimony, from his own past and skills. Peter's former spouse testified. He had grown up in Tanzania. She said he had strong knife skills, knew how to butcher meat, and was familiar with how to dismantle a body. He realized his plan: to kill Mwivono, dismember her, package her in luggage bags, and hide her remains in a remote field near the river, believing no one would ever connect him to her. During the trial, witnesses described her last night. One friend said she seemed relaxed, talked about returning to Tanzania someday, and left with Peter under the guise of helping her with a trip. On the stand, prosecutors laid out the timeline. Phone records showed calls between them. Cell tower data placed both their phones near the scene at relevant times. Surveillance footage in the area didn't exist, but the digital and biological footprints did. Forensic experts testified about the body, how tissue was removed, how parts were concealed, and how a killer tried to destroy any identification. The defense tried to argue that evidence was contaminated, that the scent dog was flawed, and procedures were not perfect. But jurors listened as the prosecution tied every strand together, from the tattoo that matched her unique marking, to the blood in his home, to the eerie notes in his planner. In deliberation, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. The sentence was severe. He was given life without parole. The outcome felt like relief for some, but for Wivenhoe's family, it was bittersweet. Her life was taken, but her justice was fought for. In the courtroom, her family wept, clutching each other, acknowledging the weight of what had happened. The village of Spring Green would never be the same. The investigation left deep scars on everyone involved, but it also became a testament to relentless work by law enforcement, to forensic science, and to a young woman's memory. Years later, her story continues to serve as a chilling reminder. Trust can hide danger, and someone who seems close can be a betrayal waiting to happen. The way he tried to erase her existence, to destroy any trace, shows just how far someone might go to cover a crime. But the truth, with its small clues and connections, prevailed. And while Wivenhoe's voice may be gone, her story remains, echoing in the tall grass of that riverbank, in the pages of court transcripts, and in the hearts of those who refuse to